Hello, good evening. Here's Doc Severson for the ReadySetCrypto OMNIA trade of the day for Monday, the 10th of January. Little bit of intraday capitulation. I've got the 12-minute chart here with Bitcoin versus the US dollar. The price was kind of hanging out here this morning at about 42,000, which was one of the support levels that we called out. And we said the next level is about 40,000. So here comes whoosh. This is what we call a waterfall decline. You can see how the price just went almost like it fell off a ledge, off a waterfall. Comes down, nails some stops, cleans out, allows shorts to take profits. You're seeing all this volume here, as well as longs trying to get on board. New longs have a buy wall down in this area. And we saw, a pretty significant move here from about 39.6 up to 42,000. Okay, so 42,000, which is former support, is now overhead resistance. So we're going to watch for this. We do have a change in polarity back up to an uptrend on the 12-minute chart. Are we there yet with an hourly chart? Let's take a look here. We have that lower low coming up to a lower high. We do not yet. We need to see the price break above 42,250 or so for this to move to an hourly uptrend. Here's the 5-hour chart. You can see that this is by no means in an uptrend yet. And let's go back out to the daily chart where we have an overall view about what's going on here. Closing in on the death cross, I really don't care that much about that. That might actually help us in this case because the press is going to be talking about, hey, it's a death cross. Everybody needs to be shorting now. And this could cause that squeeze to the upside. You can see today's candle is more of a hammer candlestick with a very small real body, and the small real body very close to the very top of this with a long lower shadow to this. Pretty good volume on today's reversal intraday. Now, we're still looking at this as a potential head with shoulders. I don't know exactly where the neckline is. Perhaps this is pretty close to it here. So we'll see whether or not this creates an actual head and shoulders measured move, which is going to bring it down to maybe 20,000 if that works out. So what I talked about before was look at buying in at 42, save some capital for 40. And the next level down would be about 20,000. So if that doesn't sound very good, what we have to do is to go back to our North Star one more time. Let's go back to the monthly chart and the monthly log and what this would look like if this were to happen. Let's draw this out. Okay, so let's say that the price releases lower, comes back down to here, and then does some kind of reversal pattern like this. If you were to look at this chart and to see this swing test coming on board here at about 18 to 20,000, and looking at this chart similar to the swing test here, if you were to look at this chart at some point in the future, you would say, oh, well, that's no big deal. That looked like a really nice buy point there at about 20,000. Now to get there, it's going to be utter screaming pain on the way down here. If it does drop from 40,000 down to 20,000, if it drops an additional 20,000 on the way down to there, you're going to hear so much negative noise. You're not going to believe it. You're not going to want to open up your browser to look at any kind of news on this because it's all going to be universally negative. And I believe that's going to be ultimately a benefit should this happen. Again, I'm not saying that this has to happen just because we have a head and shoulders pattern, but prices are really, price action is very, very negative right now. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see it very quickly slip from 40 down to 20. However, at that point, I would expect it to put in a bottom and start to really rip this year, perhaps after the first quarter. We get this get this out of our system and we toss off all the pikers that jumped on board here, then this could be an amazing opportunity to buy in. This could be a huge discount. Ethereum was doing really well, and as as expected, it has dropped out to the downside. It has found support around 3,000. Let's go see where the volume profile is on Ethereum. And it's hanging out there right around 3,200 is that volume profile point of control. So as long as it stays around in this area, I do not want to see it trade under 2,800. If it can hold in this area and then start to get up and over this area, then we could have a nice short squeeze in our hands. Remember, I've always talked about this, descending patterns break to the upside eventually. But what I've seen is descending patterns will first break the opposite direction before they go in this direction. So same thing happens with rising wedges. What I typically see with a rising wedge is rising wedges will break to the downside eventually, but first it jumps to the upside and gets everybody to chase it, and then it dies. Okay, looking at the rest of the market, really, there's only one coin that's standing out today. Well, I guess two of them. NEAR looks really good. This is a nice consolidation, nice little bull flag sitting up here above 13. That's all good. And it looks like Atom is doing much the same thing. You can see where that is hanging out right around the point of control over the last several months. That's a nice looking chart. Nothing else is really showing me anything today. Things are very negative. Things were very, very negative in the equities market as well, too. We may have had some spillover from margin calls as people were getting wiped out in the equities market. And the first thing they sell to gain cash is their risk assets. So we may be very, very close to a tradable bottom. Don't know whether that's going to be a long-term bottom or just a relief rally. We'll have to see. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.